Did you think Nikon was in trouble after seeing the company drop to 11.3% worldwide market share and really nothing in terms of new cameras in 2022? Well, the financials show a different story, a shocking story. Details coming up, but first, I encourage you to subscribe and choose all notifications so that way you can stay up to date on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. Nikon reported consolidated revenue of 288 billion yen, and as far as operating profit, 24.4 billion. Consolidated just simply means that's across the entire organization. But if we take a look at the imaging department, well, it had the largest profit of any department, 22.2 billion yen on 114.5 billion yen. And to put that into perspective, the imaging department, while they make up about 90% of the profits, they only bring in about 39% of the revenue. And the one extraordinary item here is that $19 billion loss from P&L activities. So if you're a Nikon customer and you wonder what all this really means, you don't know yen, you don't know what operating profit, what balance sheet, or any of this stuff means, well, this is very good news indeed. And it's great to see revenue up, but what really matters more than anything else is our profits up. And not only are profits up, but they're forecast to continue going up. But there is one item that's just a little bit worrying, and it's increased profit and revenue off fewer shipped units. In terms of ILC cameras, or that's interchangeable lens cameras, such as the Z6 Mark II, the Z7 Mark II, the Z9, all the mirrorless cameras, well, that number's dropped by 2.6%, and in terms of lenses, well, we're off 3.9%. I know what you're thinking. Okay, wait a minute. So profits are up, revenue's up, but the number of shipped units for both cameras and lenses is down. So how can Nikon be forecasting a rosy future of continued growth year over year? And the simple answer is, well, they know things that we don't. They know the roadmap for 2023, and what we're expecting to see announced in 2023 is a refresh of the Z6 Mark II and the Z7 Mark II, as well as the Nikon Z8, a mini, well, Z9 if you have, or a mirrorless version of the D850, modernized and updated. Nikon didn't have the best 2020, and yes, they sold an awful lot of Z9 cameras, but keep in mind these high-end cameras, these flagship mirrorless cameras, whether it be the 1DX Mark III and R3 on Canon, or the Alpha 1 for Sony, or the Z9 for Nikon, these don't make up a majority of the sales volume. This is not where their profits come from. It comes from the more affordable cameras like the Z5, the Z6, and the Z7. So a refresh of this lineup, and to provide a really good refresh where everybody's excited, like a Nikon Z8, that's equivalent to the R5, but maybe a little bit better, or maybe the A7 R5, or a Z6 Mark VII and Z7 Mark VII that are comparable, or even a Z5 Mark II. Producing cameras that appeal to their customers as well as those outside their customer base will really help them sustain that profit and that revenue growth into the future. And I think based on what we've been through over the last 3 to 5 years with Nikon, we've had their restructuring, we've had some really terrible years in 2020, 2021, and even here in 2022. Nikon's still suffering from component shortages. But in 2023, if we have the Z6 Mark VII, the Z7 Mark VII, even the Z5 Mark II, and of course the Z8, and their perceived, well, critical reviews look very positive for these cameras from Digital Camera Review, from Gordon Lang at Camera Labs, or DP Review. If consensus says that, wow, Nikon's done a great job with insert camera name here, then we can definitely see that market share grow up from 11.3%. Revenues also increase, and of course profit increase as well, returning Nikon to a much better situation where they can continue to invest in research and development and become one of the top 3 players in the mirrorless camera world for many more years to come. When I covered Nikon just a couple of years ago, I was actually quite worried for Nikon. I was a little bit, well, the news wasn't looking good, and I didn't want to see Nikon fail. I remember the days when Nikon was the #1 camera company with over 60% market share. You go back to the 90s, if you go back to the early part of this millennia or the century, you know, Nikon was in really, really good shape, but they seem to have lost their footing when it came to digital cameras and then mirrorless cameras. So I'm really happy to see things are starting to move, and the Z9 shows that Nikon's able to, well, innovate and be able to produce really good cameras and lenses as well. But these component shortages, well, they've got to be fixed. Nikon's got to look at its logistics, its supply chain, and realize, well, wait a minute, we keep doing it this way and we keep having to delay models. So let's come up with a backup plan, or completely just change who we're buying our components from, or maybe even develop some of them in-house. because you can't sell, you can't increase revenue and profit, no matter how good your cameras are, if you can't get them to the marketplace. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera news and rumors, whether it be Nikon, Canon, Sony, Pentax, and others, well, go ahead and subscribe and choose all notifications, because by choosing all notifications, you don't have to, well, scrub the latest Twitter feeds, RSS feeds, your favorite website channels, print magazines, or anything else. You see, I cover all the major camera brands, all the major camera models, all the major camera news, rumors, and reviews, all here in one place. So have yourself a great day, but please subscribe and choose all notifications.